there, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you are here. Well, looky here, this has been quite the week for our reality stars, two very pivotal ones that have been very well known throughout RHOA and RHOP. Now, I actually did videos on both of these individuals and the situations that they were going through in their legal situations. And so if you haven't had opportunity to view those, go ahead and check those out after this video. But where we're at right now is to see as more or less an update to those videos. Now, you may have heard, which I would consider the verdict heard around the world for this particular reality star, that Miss Karen Huger, the Grand Dame of Potomac, apparently was found guilty of her DUI charges. Now, you all probably saw the footage. It's been circulating quite a bit across social media. It is nevertheless very disturbing and very unnerving to see what took place on those both of actually all three of the clips that I saw. So I actually left the YouTube links to those three areas of the arrest process down in the description area as well. I didn't want to deal with too much of the copyright situation or anything like that. So if you do want to watch those, I definitely have laid them out for you in the description area below. You can click on each one of the links and get each one of the sections. I think two of them come out of Fox 5 and one of them comes out of Baltimore or DC directly. So yeah, definitely take a look at those if you haven't had opportunity to do so. Again, they'll be left in the links will be left in the description area below. But like I said, it was a very disturbing situation to see what has been taking place in regards to the actual details associated with Karen's case. Now, if you are watching now currently and at the time of the upload of this video, RHOP is actually going through its process of its run on Bravo at this point. And so we are getting kind of the behind the scenes up to the moment of her actually going to her first actual hearing, which aired, I want to say last week or maybe even the week before. So she's been a lot of basically mum on the subject, didn't want to talk much about certain things. Now, behind the scenes or off camera, if you will, in one of the videos that I actually shared, the last one, was that there was a effort from her side to try to basically silence the ability to give the footage that we now see circulating all around the internet in regards to her arrest. For different various reasons. Definitely go ahead and check out the video for the details on that. But as you can see, it is very damaging across the board, and it does not take much, in my opinion, to determine that this is obviously why this didn't go in her direction. Don't know if there's going to be appeal to this or not. We'll just have to see. Sentencing would necessarily be the next step at this point. So we'll see how that all goes too. But let's look at some of the details, get some of the details in regards to it. If you have not had opportunity to hear about those, we'll do that now. All right, so let's go ahead and get into Karen's first. We go, so you get a closer look. All right, now this is according to the Baltimore Banner. Real Housewives of Potomac star Karen Huger is found guilty in DUI case. The reality TV star asked the arresting officer, "Do you know who I am?" Now, the Real Housewives of Potomac star Karen Huger was convicted by a jury Wednesday on 7 of 8 charges prosecutors brought against her relating a DUI incident that took place last March. The convictions included driving under the influence, negligent driving, failure to control her vehicle's speed to avoid a collision, and failure to notify authorities of a change of address. She was acquitted of reckless driving. Now, Huger, 61, may face up to 2 years in prison when she is sentenced on January 29th. The inciting incident took place March 19th in Potomac when Huger, driving her 2017 Maserati, struck a median and crosswalk sign at an intersection before colliding with a parking sign and stopping just off the roadway. Now, body camera footage from the crime scene, which was shown during the trial and released to the public Wednesday evening, shows Huger speaking to police in front of her destroyed car. "Can you answer everything for me?" Huger asks her husband, Raymond Huger, who arrived on the scene after the crash occurred. After being asked how much alcohol she had consumed that evening, Huger's husband responds on her behalf, "They're assuming you had more than you should have. I'm assuming you had a couple of beers or something like that," he told Huger and the police officer. Now, Karen Huger, who calls herself the Grande Dame of Potomac, refused to participate in a field sobriety test or use a breathalyzer. As she was dropped off at the police station, the reality TV star asked an officer, "Do you know who I am?" Struggling to get out of the car and into the station, Huger remarks to the same officer, "Oh God, I'm lit." In later footage at the police station, Huger slurs her words and appears confused. "I will stay in jail for a year or two," she says defiantly. "I am Thomas Jefferson's concubine." Ooh, okay. Huger's attorney, A. Scott Bolden, told TMZ that Huger and her team were disappointed in the jury's verdict, but of course respect their decision and appreciate their time hearing our case. He added, "We continue to reserve Ms. Huger's right to an appeal and intend to fully pursue justice on her behalf." Huger's DUI has been a major talking point on season 9 of The Real Housewives of Potomac, which is currently airing, as I mentioned earlier. Now, Huger has been in the hot seat, repeatedly defending herself and maintaining her innocence. The reality TV show was filmed between April and August of this year, but the reunion for the show has not yet taped. Huger's conviction will likely be a hot topic. Now, the reality TV star has repeatedly blamed the incident on her grief over the death of her mother, Georgia Rains Wooden. Wooden had died in 2017. In a preview of Sunday's new episode of Real Housewives, guest star Jacqueline Blake appears uninvited at a party of Huger's that was thrown with 8 balloons in tow to signify the weight of the 8 citations that Huger was charged with. "I know that your heart has been heavy with all that you've been going through," Blake says before Huger kicks her out. "We want to release them into the atmosphere so that they can go away." And it doesn't appear that the gesture worked. And of course, we will see that unfold even more for Karen this upcoming, which will be tomorrow actually, episode 1, I believe, is when she'll kick Jacqueline out of her saying. Now, of course, again, like I said, that I do have the 3 videos that breaks up the arrest in 3 parts. One from US Today and 2 of them that actually come out of Washington, D.C., Fox 5 News. Link down below so you most certainly can take a look at those if you would like. The first one is the police come onto the scene and you see the questioning of her and Ray trying to help her out. You also then see part 2 of it basically is when they are on the car ride from the scene to, she's been arrested, handcuffed, and being taken to the jail. And then the third one gives the body cam of her arriving at the jail. And and then whatever ensues at that point. Of course, there's also the conversation being had when she's inside the room, the interrogation room. And it just kind of goes haywire from there. So I would love to know your thoughts on this. I feel like personally, this is just a really, I could definitely see why she didn't want to say much about the situation for whatever she may or may not have been able to recall. I think that it was a very dangerous situation indeed. If you have been watching Potomac this season, the first episode pretty much started off with a reenactment of what they believed could have happened in the situation, probably per the words of what Karen can recall, and got us a feel. So even to see that as a reenactment, whether it was fully what happened or not, was pretty disturbing at that point and showed the seriousness of the situation, as well as the fact that she could have hurt herself seriously or hurt somebody else, which we all know or would at least feel that she definitely would not intend for that to happen. However, though, the nature is when you do these types of things, this is the kind of consequences, unintended or not, that can occur. So I don't know what's going to happen with this situation. I do wonder if a 2-year sentence is what's going to happen, because she's looking at being, definitely facing that as a possibility. Some people have mentioned the fact of Shanna Bedore's situation, and she's out at Real Housewives of Orange County, and she's kind of coming over the heel of her punishment, if you will, to her actions when she basically was driving while intoxicated, hit a tree or side of a building or side of a home or something to that extent, not too far from where she left off, bloodied herself, had to spend a night in jail. She's going through the process now. She has to do breathalyzers while she's driving and all these different things, but she's not doing any more jail time from what I understand. She does have fines, and also I believe she was doing a community service, which I think she had to do 40 hours working in a church or something to that extent. But she was going to continue to keep doing that because she thought it was good for her. So there is definitely some differences between the two. The amount of charges that Shannon had endured, I'm not really sure of the number count. If you can recall them and you'd like to share them down below, feel free to do so. But I do hear a lot of comparison between the two ladies' situations and what is going on thus far. And where I hear them mostly is connected to the fact that why Karen maybe just would have, maybe pleaded guilty or whatever the case may be, took the responsibility, took the accountability for what she did. Maybe things would have went a different way for her. And people, really didn't understand her reasoning for going up to in front of a jury with the damning situation that is. And I would imagine her lawyer would have seen all of this footage that we're all now seeing that's all been released and would think like, oof, this is bad. I mean, I don't know how you really can defend any of this. And if it's supposed to be based off of the fact that, well, she is still grieving her mother, her mother passing, and that's totally understandable that you would be still grieving, a parent's passing. I mean, that's a pain that I feel will never go away. It's a situation in which you're not having, a newness in life as if everything is okay. I mean, it just becomes a new normal. This is what you live with. So I don't know if that's going to be the total basis of how they're going to go about this. It's going to be interesting to see what the appeal would look like if the appeal does go through. It does sound like in the sharing at this point that the intent is to try to appeal the situation. I just think that, you kind of befuddled with the question of, well, how you're going to be able to, I don't know, justify this, clean this up. What is there going to be that's going to make people think that anything other than guilty should be the situation? So would it have been a better situation for her to just take accountability and go through the settling process and take the licks that way versus going through this process and going in front of a jury? And so that's a question I have for you. What's your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts if you actually watched the actual footage? What did you think about that? Definitely leave your thoughts down below. I would love to know if you feel like there was a basis for where things could have been maybe different for her as far as the charging and all of that stuff is concerned. Did you see the situation with Shannon and felt like there was anything to compare between the two situations? Again, what I see mostly about in that perspective is not, so much even about the charges itself, but just the fact that, one feels that Shannon actually came out and just said, yeah, I did it. I was wrong. And I'll take my licks wherever I can. I'm taking responsibility. I'm moving forward from this. And Karen decided to do the jury situation. So what are your thoughts on that? I would love to know. So definitely leave those down thoughtfully and respectfully down below. And, that way we can have a conversation about it, because I really would love to know your thoughts on that, of course. And so, right now it's not looking too good. This is not, I don't think, been a really a pleasant ordeal for Karen to be going through, periodly. One of the things I definitely would say, though, that she, and I feel like she is very thankful for, is that no one else got hurt in this situation, and no one lost their lives or was, maimed or anything to that extent, because that would have just compounded the situation in such a real horrible way. So, I guess more to come. I'm going to continue to be watching, just like I'm sure many others who are interested in this case will be doing the same. So as updates come along, I will be sharing it here on the platform. Again, it looks like January 29th is when they are apparently looking to do sentencing, which I think is pretty quick, considering that sometimes these things need to drag out much longer. And so we'll have to see how that goes. And I guess because the bottom line is, they came up with the case now. I don't know exactly the date that she went in for the hearing, so there's obviously a good space and time between that, and so since it can come pretty quickly, but we'll just have to see how that all goes. But again, I'll be sharing that here on the channel, so definitely let me know your thoughts on that. And so with that, we're going to now move on to Peter Thomas. Now, I'm sure you're probably aware about Peter Thomas's situation if you've been following it in any which form. He's been dealing with tax issues for quite some time now. Peter is one that really did a number on himself in the business world, in the sense of, creating multiple businesses, in which I feel in my thoughts that maybe he wasn't ready to be able to expand on. It just seems to be that way, considering the things that we've been hearing over the last few years. Now, you all know that he was part of RHOA. Some would say probably just like a cast member, like any other person, like one of the ladies that Nelly, that he would joke about. But it appears that, things time, and actions have now caught up to him. And so we knew that he had been running into some issues when it came to the money. And I'd heard some stories about him potentially not paying individuals allegedly, and people coming after him allegedly for that. I don't know how all those sorted themselves out. I really wasn't following too tightly on that, but I was following the federal situation. I was following the tax situation because I thought that was quite interesting that he had somehow found himself in that position as well. What an awful predicament to deal with. And so I would assume that all of the locations for all of his Bar One restaurants have now been closed. I would assume. I know he had one in Atlanta, had one in Charlotte, I believe, had one in Baltimore, and then one in Miami, I believe. And I would imagine all of them are closed now, but I'm not 100%. If you know, go ahead and drop that down below in the comment section. If you are familiar with the situation at hand, I'd love to know your thoughts too about what you think about the sentencing and what was going on with him. Now, I also did do videos on this as well, so if you haven't had an opportunity to check those out on the platform, go ahead and do that after this one if you want some more of those details and really where his head was at the time. But I think at that moment they were talking about he could do up to 5 years, if I remember correctly, but it will definitely be in the video there for reference. So let's go ahead and get into that sharing as well. So this is according to Newsbreak and TMZ. RHOA alum Peter Thomas is sentenced to 18 months in prison for a tax case. Now, Peter Thomas joins the growing list of the reality stars to get hit with jail time. We've learned the Real Housewives of Atlanta alum has been hit with a sentence of 1.5 years in prison. A rep for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of North Carolina tells TMZ. The Bravo personality who appeared on RHOA alongside then-wife Cynthia Bailey has been sentenced to 18 months behind bars after pleading guilty to failing to pay his taxes. Following the sentence, Peter will have 2 years of supervised release. And Peter also has been ordered to pay $2.5 million in restitution to the IRS. Now, Peter pled guilty this summer to 1 count of failure to pay trust fund taxes after being accused of repeatedly evading paying the IRS between 2017 and 2023 for several of his businesses. The restaurateur allegedly owed the IRS nearly $650,000 in trust fund taxes from his employees' wages in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yet, that's just a glimpse of Peter's tax woes. He's been accused of failing to pay more than $2.5 million in employment taxes over a 6-year period from his businesses in various states. Now, when he finally reports to jail, Thomas will be placed in a facility as close to Miami as possible. He will have access to educational and vocational programs and substance abuse treatment programs. Prior to his sentencing, Peter posted a video update on Instagram where he advised young business owners to please learn from his mistake. In his message, he said he was willing to face the music for consistently withholding taxes for businesses over 10 years. As he continued, Peter admitted he thought he could rectify the situation by getting on a payment plan, but learned that the hard way that it doesn't work like that. He added, "I plead guilty, and with my plea of guilty, I have to sit down for a while." So here's a situation where at this point he felt he was in a position where he had to do everything in regards to just pleading guilty. The fact is he wasn't paying his taxes. That's what it was. And 10 years is an awful long time to not be paying taxes. And that's one of the things, with entrepreneurship, for sure. I'm an entrepreneur myself. And, you really do have to make sure that area is intact. There's no way around it. You have to file your taxes, whether you're working as an employee or you're, an entrepreneur and doing your own thing. You definitely have to make sure that you're letting Uncle Sam know what monies you are getting, because at some point or another, it will catch up to you. Even if it's not right away, it will catch up to you. So, word to the wise. And I'm glad that he took the opportunity to basically say, hey, look, learn from my mistakes, learn from what I did. Pay your taxes, and that's what you need to do. And if you have employees, you have to go through that process and pay those taxes on them as well. It's just the way it is, and you're not going to get away with it for too long if you try to start going down the pathway of not doing it. So at the end of the day, it's very unfortunate this happens. It's always nice to see when an individual is able to strike out on their own and actually be able to do things and participate in the world and in the economy in that way. But it's very, very off-putting, and it can be very nerve-wracking when you see so many cases or situations in which people find themselves into situations because they don't simply file their taxes. And so definitely that's a lesson learned from Peter. I think that he is very relieved at this point as well, because I think the time they were looking at was much longer than what he got. And so I think at this point he's saying, like you said, I have to sit down somewhere and reflect on what's going on and try to find some way to get his life back together from this point on. Now, the $2.5 million in taxes, where Peter's going to get that from, I have no idea. But, you know, at the end of the day, he is still a personality. I think that honestly, and you tell me your thoughts here, because he is, you know, pretty good reality TV. If he did some kind of a comeback story, could that be something to help him? I mean, for heaven's sakes, Teresa Giudice was able to do that. Now, obviously, she was already on a show and still on the show, and they basically spaced it out for her for the time that she was away, and she was welcomed back with open arms and was able to presume and consume. And if she had any, you know, things to pay out restitution wise, she was able to do that, I'm sure, 10 times over now. And that works out really well for her. Do you think Peter could do the same thing? Do you think there's a place in which it maybe not RHOA, but, you know, if Cynthia Bailey comes back and goes from a friend status into a regular, is it possible that they could find a way to kind of get him in there? I don't know. You know, at the end of the day, Cynthia, I know, has moved on. She apparently has a relationship with someone that she's very happy with, and we're very happy for her. So yes to that. And yeah, I guess we'll just have to see. But I would love for him to be able to come back and, you know, get his footing back and be able to pay his restitution the way he needs to, and be able to not have this be something that destroys his life, especially at the stage of life that he is in. I think it's just really unfortunate that, you know, you work hard or do whatever it is you're doing for so many years, and then this is how those, you know, whatever presumably your act four in life can be. And so hopefully he will be able to find a way to do what he needs to do to take care of his taxes and not put himself in this position yet again. So yeah, definitely would love to know your thoughts about both of these stories. Do you think that, I mean, one, are you shocked about what is going on with Peter in regards to the sentencing? Did you think it was going to be longer? Do you think it was pretty fair? I mean, at this point, it's the law is the law, right? So, you know, but we can have thoughts about what we feel about it. Yeah, I would just love to know your thoughts below. So definitely leave them respectfully down below. But I guess that will about do it for this video. I mean, it's unfortunate what's going on with these two, but I'm hoping for them to come to a better situation for themselves as this goes on. Definitely prayers and thoughts for them, because they're going to need it. But yeah, at the end of the day, you know, there's lots of lessons to be learned in both of their situations, and definitely for them both, it could have been a lot worse. So that being said, I'm going to bid you adieu for this video. Definitely make sure that you check out those previous videos that I've done if you want more details and other information. Definitely take a look at those 3 videos down below if you're interested in how the rest went down. If you haven't seen it or just want to review it again before, you know, sharing your thoughts down below, definitely do that. And yeah, you know, I also thinking about Karen, I just feel really bad for Ray too, because I'm looking at Ray, and Ray, I know he was like, here, I don't want to be dealing with this. And you know, sometimes we get to a certain point in life, look, now this is too much stress. So I'm hoping that they are able to work through, and Karen's able to get the help that she needs also, because it's clearly help needed, and processing her grief and how she handles herself throughout the situation in her grieving process, as well as, you know, whatever else that she may need in order to, you know, ensure that this doesn't happen again, because this is just no way. She has family, children, you know, people who care about her, people who depend on her. You know, this is not a way that they want her to go. And I'm sure that, you know, her parents would want, you know, her to be able to find a space where she could find some peace and being able to move forward as well. You know, at the end of the day, but grieving is different for everybody, and it is always so difficult to go through the process of grieving a parent that you love so much. So I just hope that she does get all the love and the care and treatment that is needed in order to ensure that she takes care of herself in the process as well. And for Peter, I think it's good that he's taking responsibility. I'm glad that he's, you know, is not running anymore from the situation. I kind of feel like he had no choice, that this is what it was, you know, buck stops here kind of moment. So, you know, definitely will be more to come for this. I don't know if we'll hear much more from Peter, other than maybe that he's gone in at this point. But if there is anything else to update, I will be sure to share that on the platform as well. So with that, again, I'm going to bid you adieu. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new here and hadn't had opportunity to hit the subscribe button, I hope that you would, and go ahead and be a part of this family, be a part of the community. I would so appreciate that. And definitely make sure that you keep your notification bells on, because I would so love for you to come back for the next videos that I've got coming up on the pipeline. I'll have many more, but we're just going to keep this train rolling. I also too have a if you're interested. A bit of a Christmas allure to for the channel as well. I'm doing a 12 days of a scandalous Christmas story, which is going through Christmas past stories that were scandalous for a time other than 2024, because we've been having our fill at this point. And it was kind of fun to peruse some of the old stories and reflect on those and talk about those. And yeah, just seeing, where we were at certain different times in the past when it came to these types of scandalous stories that we seem to hear every other day now. So definitely, if you haven't had opportunity, I think we're on day 9 today as of the day of this uploading this video. And so make sure you take a look at it and yeah, share your thoughts as well. And we also talking about movies that were considered treasured movies for the holiday season that not everybody was so keen on as well. You might be surprised at some of those movies, and maybe not. Maybe you may feel the same way. So definitely we talk about that on those videos as well. So I would love to know your thoughts. So definitely go ahead and share those there as well. So with that, I think again, I'm gonna say ta-ta, and I hope that you're doing well, staying safe, staying warm for sure, and just having a great time during your holiday season, whatever it is that you may be doing during this time. And I thank you again for being here. So until next time, bye.